Good morning, good evening, whatever time of day it is for you. Welcome to this thing that I do called Thor's Entertainment. I am Thor, and it is time for another Fatal Friday video. And Fatal Friday is a series where I went into the Kombat League casually trying to get the finishers for the various characters of Mortal Kombat 1. So it was just me trying to get the fatalities or brutalities for the characters against real people. This week I'm using the main roster characters Scorpion and the kameo Motaro. And I am trying to get Scorpion's brutality burn for me. The random opponent the Kombat League gave me was somebody using Sindel and the kameo Sareena. Back when this was recorded, Sindel was a pretty good character. Even so, I barely fought against anybody using her, so I was not very familiar with good ways to punish her attacks using Scorpion. And in general, Sindel trips me up early on because I was uncertain where I was needing to block and I screw it up quite a bit. Like her combo extending ground stomp specifically causes me a bunch of problems in this entire set. That attack is a low and that kind of messes me up for a while. Whenever Sindel lands that attack, it is very good for her combos because it pops people up into the air. And yeah, early on I was doing a very bad job of blocking low and stopping it. Later as we got further into the set, I do pick up on that, and whenever blocked you can punish the attack. I just rarely do so because of the space and the separation that it gives Sindel. So even on block, it wasn't the easiest thing for me to punish, because I did not know what attacks from Scorpion actually had the range to punish it. And I was just kind of left guessing and doing trial and error the entire time. And the first round was really close. I had nearly made the comeback to defeat Sindel. I even committed to using my breaker because I thought I could pull it off. Unfortunately though, I missed my opportunities whenever I was doing that, and I did end up losing that very first round. But at least I was keeping it close. I was definitely not out of this one. But yeah, going back to the Sindel Stomp causing me some trouble. When blocking the Sindel Stomp, I should have been trying to punish using Scorpion's knee strikes. That is the attack that pops the opponent into the air and also provides Scorpion with some really good opportunities for some big combos. Like right here, for example. I knock Sindel into the air and I continue to keep her in the air, spending some meter to extend the combo, and then 370 plus damage later, I am on the verge of winning the second round. After watching this gameplay back, I do manage to punish the Sindel Stomp at least once with those knee strikes, and I could have been doing that way more for big damage, but I did not realize it. That issue, among others, caused me enough problems in the very first match for the Sindel user to end up winning. And I guess maybe I shouldn't be giving away who exactly wins this first match like that, but as you can kind of tell based on what's going on screen right now, everything kind of goes horribly for me and Sindel gets to a gigantic life lead. And we are nearly 30 seconds into the final round of this set before I end up doing any damage to Sindel. And the first little bit of damage I did was only chip damage whenever she was blocking one of my attacks. I do end up busting out a small combo, giving me about 280 damage, but by the time I do that, the fight's already over. And Sindel has an early fatality for us.
Sindel wins.
Alright, the first match had some serious highs and lows. The first round was super close and it could have gone either way. The second round was strongly in my favor and I won. Then the third round happened and that was an absolute landslide victory for my opponent. Considering I lost the entire match in the end, not a great start. Fortunately, that was not uncommon territory for me. I feel like when I used Scorpion, I almost always had to play from behind. It seemed like I would always lose the first matches. Then I would have to make a comeback by winning the last two matches consecutively to win the entire set. Like that happened a bunch, and I think it happened with Scorpion more than any other character that I used. So at least I was pretty used to this scenario. And I managed to get Sindel below 30% health. I was just blocking and trying to play it safe, waiting for an opportunity, and finally it came. I speared Sindel, which secured an easy combo for the win and the first round victory. So okay, we are off to a much better start here in the second match, and I kind of want to keep it that way. But on the topic of combos, considering I've landed a pretty easy one to win that first round, I feel like I'm doing pretty well with my combo execution in this video. Like I'm landing a pretty good variety. Of course I'm getting the combos in the air, which are some of Scorpion's biggest damaging combos, even though they do require a little bit of meter. But I'm also having some good success landing them on the ground as well without meter and getting in the mid 300 damage range. I'm only pointing that out because I think the last video I did for Scorpion had me fighting against somebody using Omni-Man, and I think I got the killer clones from the Netherrealm Fatality in that video. Which overall was a good video, it was very competitive, but I feel like I did not land any really good combos until the very end. And every opportunity I had to land a good combo, I feel like I dropped it. So going from that video to this video, I am feeling a lot better seeing the execution versus Sindel, as opposed to what I was seeing versus Omni-Man. But I suppose the combo execution really only accounts for offense, and I am having some terrible defense in this fight. Which is why Sindel was just able to take the second round against me, and yet again, a match is going down to a third and final round. And that means I have the most to lose in this round, because if I end up losing this one, I lose the entire set. I need to win this one just to stay alive, and yeah. Oh, there it is. That's the one time I managed to punish the Sindel stomp with the knee strikes from Scorpion and get a full combo off of it. And without using any meter, I was able to punish that attack and get 339 damage. So now, just imagine that every single time that we have seen the Sindel stomp up to this point, and every time we see it after this point, I could have been doing like 340 damage every single time. But I think that's the only time I actually successfully punished that attack in that way, which is really, really unfortunate. This could have been so much easier. Anyway, Sindel is one hit away from death. I'm trying to run away so I can use the ground fire attack and get the brutality.
Much more to come. Brutality! Scorpion wins.
And that was the burn for me brutality for Scorpion. So yeah, that was just the brutality version of the ground fire that Scorpion can do, which is a great way of just closing out the round in general. So it's not that difficult to get as a brutality, although the one thing that can make it a little bit difficult is the distance requirement. Like, you have to be a pretty good ways away from your opponent before you do the attack. Otherwise, the brutality is not going to activate, which is why you saw me running away from Sindel at the very end. And with Sindel being nearly dead, I was just doing my best to dodge whatever she threw at me. Otherwise, I was just going to take the damage, before just continuing to run away until I hit the distance requirement, because I definitely did not want to accidentally kill her in any other way and waste my opportunity for the brutality, because that was a really, really good opportunity. I think even if she blocked it, it still would have done enough damage to kill her and activate the brutality. So yeah, brutality opportunities do not really get too much better than that. And currently I am getting zoned out by Sindel, and I used Breaker to keep myself in this very first round, thinking I could maybe find an opportunity to come back into the fight and just use my Fatal Blow to win the round, but that never really comes to fruition, and yeah, Sindel ends up taking the first round, and yet again I find myself one round away from losing the entire set. So I now need to win 2 rounds consecutively, or I'm in a very bad position as the loser. Which would really suck after getting that brutality. I would much rather highlight it after a victory than a loss. Although on a couple of occasions I have highlighted a brutality in a losing effort where I ultimately did lose the entire set. I know I did that once for Havoc, and I think I did it once for Reptile. And even though I am willing to do that, that is not my preference. I will normally just go out of my way to get the brutality a separate time in a winning effort. And speaking of winning efforts, I just landed a pretty decent combo, and Sindel surprisingly used her breaker to stop it. The thing was, I had already done over 300 damage, so the majority of the damage was already done. She honestly would have been better off just eating what little more damage I could have done, and then saving the breaker for a more meaningful combo down the road. Like, I think maybe she saved herself 60 damage, but she already suffered 300, so not that big of a benefit. So yeah, me landing a 300 plus damage combo and my opponent using every bar of meter they had, I will definitely chalk that up as a victory for me. And speaking of victories for me, I end up winning the second round, which means for a third and consecutive match. The winner will be decided in a third and final round, with this third and final round having the distinction of deciding the winner of the entire set. So it looks like we are in store for a very exciting finish. After seeing my opponent start to chip away at my health, I wanted the momentum, so I go ahead and use my armored charging attack with Scorpion, and then momentum begins to shift a little bit more in my favor. And I do just mean a little bit because I was only chipping away a little bit at a time whenever it came to Sindel's health bar. I would land a throw, I would land a teleport, and eventually I would resort to the armored wake up again just to make sure I was continuing to keep momentum in my favor. But overall, there were no big combos in this round like there were in the previous rounds. And by the end of it, I ended up using Scorpion's whip to trip up Sindel a few times and chip away at the very last little bit of health she had. And then I realized she was about one more hit away from death just like she was in the previous match. So I was like, screw it, you know what? Our health may be close, but I'm going for this brutality one more time.
come. Brutality. Scorpion wins.
And that was the burn for me Brutality a second time. We end up leaving Sindel very toasty after taking the set 2-1. And thank you to the random opponent that I got in the Kombat League this time around. This was definitely an entertaining one. My matchup knowledge was not the greatest, and I felt like I was being bailed out by pretty decent damaging combos most of the fights. By the end of it, every single match we fought against each other came down to a third and final round, so this was definitely a pretty exciting one. It easily could have gone either way, and I'm pretty happy to walk away with it. And not only walk away with it, but walk away after getting the Brutality 2 different times. Speaking of that Brutality, I'll be sure to show it one more time at the very end of this outro. That way we can all enjoy it one final time before we part ways on this Fatal Friday. But that is pretty much going to do it for this video. We are done setting people on fire with Scorpion for the time being, so I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, feel free to check out the other Mortal Kombat 1 finisher videos that I have. Those can all be found under the Fatal Friday playlists. I also have videos for other games like playthroughs of the remakes of Resident Evil 1 and 2, and I also just started a playthrough of Legacy of Kain Soul Reaver, the first part of which is now available, and the rest of which should start coming out over the next few weeks. If any of that sounds interesting to you, feel free to check it out. For now, though, again, I hope you enjoyed the video, take care, and hopefully I see you next time.
Much more to come. Brutality. Scorpion wins.